vibrant and creative, but he really knows his stuff, and he knows the people have gone before him, and he's got a killer band. We have great food tonight, as we always do. We have great drinks and service, and we have you. Thank you for being here. Put your hands together for Tony Exum Jr.
Georgia. How y'all feeling tonight? How y'all feeling out there, y'all? America's acoustic living room. I feel like I'm at home playing in front of my aunts and uncles. Like I did when I was like 13. I was that kid. Once I started getting a little nice on the sax, it was like, Tony, go get your horn and play for us. So, one of the reasons why I'm able to come up here, I started early, you know? Y'all feeling all right, though? All right. Sold out. Thank you, Georgia. That's what I'm talking about. I come all the way from Colorado Springs, you know? That's right. So, this is my second time here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much. We're gonna have some fun tonight, okay? I know it's the living room, so pretend like you're at home and you're just hanging out. You know what I'm saying? You're sitting down on the couch and you kicked your slippers off, got your drink in your hand, and we just having a little party. A little smooth jazz party, all right? All right, y'all. That first song was a little something you probably heard on either WCLK or WJZA. They both have been supporting my music. Big shout out to Atlanta Smooth Jazz Radio. It was called Get At You. And I want to play a song that I did with a DC group real quick a few years back. I like this tune. It's called In the Pocket. Yeah. y'all. Give it up for the fellas, please. Yes, these guys, these two here, I just met today, y'all. It's the power of music, right? These guys came prepared, they studied the music, so I'm just having fun up here. That's what music's all about, and it's not always like that. I was just telling them a story backstage about one time, I'm not gonna say where, who, but well, I was in Rock Island, Illinois. I'll just say Quad City was doing a show a couple of years ago. And I had to fire the band after rehearsal. And then I had to go on stage and do a whole show with just my laptop and my backing tracks. Which was fine, but I don't know about y'all, but I like having the fellas. I like having you know, that's what jazz is all about. But the rehearsal went kind of bad and I just couldn't. Everybody's gonna have their phones out and stuff. I was like, I can't have that. I'm laughing now. It wasn't so funny when it went down. Matter of fact, I went on Facebook Live the next day and did a whole doctoral dissertation on being prepared as musicians and the importance of a touring artist being able to go to a city, maybe meet musicians you don't know, with the expectation that they're gonna be ready. So, but see, sometimes it's based on the reputation of the person you do know. So now give it up for Corey Raymond on drums, who I played with before. He got these fellas together for me. This man never lets me down. So I knew if he likes them, then they must be good. That's how it works sometimes. So yeah. Anyway, that was a song called Everything, one of my originals, and I'm playing some of my stuff. I'll get to some other stuff later on, but I like, you know, appreciative audience that lets you play some of your music. That's what it's all about, right? So, let's do another original here. I like this song because thanks to Urban Influencer Radio, you the fans, this was my very first #1 single. Yes, 2024, this song went #1 for 2 weeks. Hit the top 30 and top 100 in some other places, but it's just a good song. This is called Hold My Hand. Appreciate y'all so much. It's called Hold My Hand. Big sure. Now listen, y'all, you know, different times now. This is that part of the show where you plug the consumption of your music, not just here. So, take the shades off real quick. Time to get serious. Now, streaming is the thing now, right? So Spotify pays you like this, a slither of a penny. So it takes like hundreds of thousands of streams before you make anything that would even require a 1099. But really, I just want you guys to listen. So forget all that. Because here's the thing people don't know. Even Spotify, even with that little bit of money, they take their cut. So, you know, it is what it is. But stream it as much as you possibly can. As fast as you can. This is my running joke, everybody. You stream it tonight, all of you, like 100 times. Then when it's time for me to go back to Colorado, I can pay my baggage fee, Southwest. It works, trust me. I've tried it before. Speaking of Southwest, what are they doing? What are they doing? I mean, I'm an A-lister, and I'm like, I gotta pay for a bag now? Like, where does that work? I've been flying Southwest since I've been touring. On the way here, they were like, oh, well, since 2 days ago, now you have to pay for one bag. Like, okay. And then they didn't tell me that there's no cutoff for your baggage to be checked in. So I get to the airport huffing and puffing, trying to rush. And they're like, well, you know, you can go ahead and check it, but you probably won't make your flight because it's on the C terminal. See, DIA is only second to Atlanta Airport as far as size. And it's getting bigger now. So they're like, well, you're on C68. So you're not gonna make it after you get on the train. Yeah, and then you gotta walk. I'm like, you know what, just rebook me. You know, I'm gonna get there a little early anyway. But I don't know what Southwest is doing. I had to just say that, y'all gotta know it's there. Like, touring is crazy now. So that's why we need the streams and the downloads, you know, because it's getting rough out there. But anyway, all right, enough about that. You guys are all music lovers, and I love that, so I know you guys listen. So that being said, though, I'm gonna play my brand new single that just came out right now. And big shout out to WJZE because they can spin it regularly. I'm on the playlist, and it's a great station. So I know some of you guys probably listen to that. WCOK as well. Both stations have supported me over the years, so it helped me here in Atlanta. So I really love radio. And another radio station has also supported me from way back. The gentleman that owns that station is sitting right here. This is DJ Sparks from SparksRadio.com, y'all. And this is also DJ Sparks from Sparks TV. Sparks TV. So if you have Roku, go to Sparks TV. He has his own television network. Get on hand for that. So he supports me when nobody's playing my stuff. He'll play it. Matter of fact, there was one single that. It happens. There's one station, I was signed to a label for a little while when I played that song, Everything. They didn't put it out on radio very well. But it's one of those good songs that I play on all my shows. But there's one station that played that song, Sparks Radio. He's the kind of guy, like, he likes you, he gonna play your stuff 5-6 times a day. Like, he really helped me. I saw the radio report. There was one time I got a report, it was just him, but he played my joint like 45 times that week. I love this man. Okay? That's how DJ's supposed to do. And check this out. We homies, but no pay only. There was nothing done behind the scenes. So now that I let the cat out the bag, if you have a song that you get tired of hearing, it's probably because the record label is doing some favors for the DJ. It's the business we're in. Anyway, forget all that. Stream this song, because it just came out. It's called And the Story Goes. story goes. Give it up for Corey Raymond on bass. I'm on drums. Okay. Give it up for Tim Reed on bass. Justin Blaze. Yes. And special shout out to Taylor Fuller for 13 years almost with this place right here. It's very hard to keep a place like this open. So big shout out to her for keeping live music alive right here in Georgia. I think that's amazing, amazing, especially a jazz venue. So keep supporting, keep coming back and making this place, you know, like home, like the living room that it is. I love it. Gotta unbutton my jacket for this one. I want to do something here a few years back from one of the greatest saxophone players to ever walk the face of the earth. He went by the name of Art Porter, y'all. And a little something from him. This is called Lay Your Hands on Me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Justin Liz. Justin on keys. I don't know about you, but I think it's time to hit some bass. Y'all ready for 10? Y'all ready for 10? All right. Give it up for Tim on the bass, y'all. Yes. All right. Gotta get the drummer song. He's killing it up here. The lights, musical director. Hold it down. Corey, y'all. Corey. Corey, y'all. Give it up. Gentlemen, let me get a little more monitor on stage, please. tonight? I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time, y'all. This is incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It means a lot to me to come wherever I may go, but especially coming down here to Atlanta, because this is a place where music is celebrated. So, got one more for you before you have to get ready for the second show, but I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. If you took pictures and video, post it all over social media, just hashtag Tony Exum Jr, okay? And then hashtag the Velvet Note, so that way you make sure it comes here. Yeah. All right? Once again, give it up for Justin, Tim, and Corey. And give it up for the gentleman in the back on the sound, because without him, none of this is possible. Take care of your bartender and your waitress, and you know, so glad you guys are here. Once again, I'm Tony Exum Jr. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at TXM Jr. Sax, Tony Exum Jr. Music on Facebook, and my website is TonyXMJr.com. And you can listen to me real quick every weeknight. It's going to be starting at 10 o'clock your time at night, so it's going to be late on jazz935.org. I'm also a radio host too, so yeah, listen to me on the radio as well. Right? Okay, we're going to jam out on this one real quick. And I'm going to play this one for the ladies. This is a little something called Mr. S.A.X. y'all so much. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Once again, give it up for the band, y'all. Give it up for Tamara Fuller, DJ Sparks, all of you lovely people, all the ladies. Thank y'all so much. I'm Tony Exum Jr. And like I say on my radio show at the end of every night, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about y'all. Good night. Thank you so much.
Tony Exum Jr. live! Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We love to have you. And we'd love to have you again. You can find all our upcoming shows at developmentnote.com. It's going to be an incredible summer. We've got a gentleman who plays trumpet and piano at the same time. You gotta come to the show. We got a couple of American Idol castaways this summer. And we have our annual Labor Day weekend tribute to the music of Earth, Wind, and Fire. So get those tickets, tune into our website, call me. You all are not scared. Call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I answer the phone. And we actually have a meaningful conversation. I don't remember if it was meaningful at the time. So we hope that we'll see you again. On behalf of Red and Sam and Landry, it's her second day of work. Raise your hand, Landry, so they know who you are. And Julia and Sheila on the floor. And Corey mixing it up behind the bar. And sous chef Candy. And with all of his good home cooking, Chef Daryl Agee. Back in that kitchen. This is what we love to do, which is to bring you closer to artists, to inspire you, closer to each other.